Welcome to Puff Puff Pass the Facts Addiction, Substance Abuse, Misuse, Prevention Information Session. My name is Corey Manning. We'll be getting started in just a minute. Feel free, I hope this is working. Feel free to type any questions that you may have in the chat box, and I'll try to address those as quickly as I can. You can also, if you know me directly, you can text me. I have my phone with me. You can send me a message in my inbox. All those things are different ways and means to reach out to me to engage in conversation during this presentation. So our agenda for today, we're going to go introduction and overview. We're going to talk about understanding youth substance misuse. Then we're going to do not a deep dive, a shallow dive into proven prevention strategies, and then talk about action steps that can be taken for families, schools, workforce, and communities. And then I'm going to give you a little bit about my approach to addressing substance abuse or misuse. And then open the floor for questions and answers if there's any. This is going to be recorded, so feel free to reach out to me if you're not able to contact me live. Feel free to reach out to me with any of your questions via the email or links that are being shown on the screen right now. My name is Corey Manning. I'm a comedian by night, superhero by day. I'm a comedian bringing laughter and joy to audiences everywhere. And by day, I transitioned into a passionate advocate, educator, and international speaker dedicated to substance misuse prevention. I have over 30 years clean and sober. That's right, I haven't used drugs in 30 years. I stopped using drugs when I was 8 years old. I'm only 38. No, I'm kidding. I stopped using drugs in my 20s, and I'm happy to say that I have not done so intentionally, and that's important, intentionally, and there's stories behind that I'll share at some other point, but haven't used those drugs in over 30 years. So I understand deeply this is a critical issues, not only for young people, but also for families, communities, and also the workforce, which is bringing those young people in. I wear many hats in my professional life. I'm a seasoned speaker and facilitator with extensive experience in substance abuse intervention and prevention education, but I also bring resilience to my work, having survived prostate cancer and its treatment. This journey has equipped me with tools, insights, and empathy needed to connect and inspire diverse audience. Beyond my work in substance misuse prevention, I do consulting on developing it. Excuse me. I do consulting work on developing mentoring programs, evidence-based mentoring programs, drawn from my years of experience working in youth and community engagement at both local, national, and international nonprofit sectors. Additionally, I'm a comedy event performer, coordinator, and consultant, bringing my expertise in entertainment to creating impactful and memorable events that can be used for sustainability, including raising funds. Whether I'm conducting a virtual training session like this or leading in-person workshops, delivering keynote speeches, or consulting on mentoring and comedy events, my goal is always the same, and that is saving the world one smile at a time. So let's go ahead and get started into this session and start learning more. The first thing we want to do before we even talk about solutions, it's always helpful to understand youth substance misuse. Substance misuse, which I'm just beginning to really intentionally use this language, is increased because it's being increasingly used instead of substance abuse, because it is seen as more accurate and less stigmatizing term. Misuse, the word misuse, focuses on the inappropriate use of substances without the negative connotation of abuse, which can imply moral failure or judgment. This shift in terminology helps to promote understanding and empathy and a more supportive approach to addressing substance-related issues. So this is very important for us to understand terminology, and that for those who have young people in your life, you know how challenging it can be to engage in conversation with them. And one word, body language, one question can derail that conversation that you're trying to have with a young person. So it's important for us to choose our words correctly. And this is not only with young people, this is in conversations we have with each other. So keep that in mind. So what we're going to be talking about is the reasons for young people using drugs, and the reason for them experimenting in drugs. So let's start with the data and age and reasons for drug experimentation. As you can see here, the age of first use of the outline here for alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and prescription medication. Now here it says alcohol was between 13 and 14 years old, tobacco 15 to 6 years old, marijuana 16 to 18, and prescription drugs usually around 16 to 17 years old. Now, the thing about this is the overarching data for young people, but I know multiple young people that have experimented with alcohol, which is a drug, at even earlier ages than this. And when I mean experimenting could just simply be tasting it. I know some adults in the past and today who would allow a young person, underage young person, to taste their alcohol, like beer or something like that, or mixed drinks. Sometimes a young person will grab the wrong drink at a table, be it at a restaurant or at home, and thinking it's apple juice or whatever, and it turns out to be a mixed drink. That's experimentation. So it can actually start a lot younger. And this is very important for us to know and understand. As far as the common reasons for young people using drugs, it's around curiosity, peer pressure, stress, emotional issues, family environment, media and social media influences, accessibility. And I go in, when I'm doing workshops, I go in even deeper into talking about what these things are, how they influence them, and how we can combat those things, both as an individual and doing this as a community. Other common reasons for youth substance use is, again, peer influence, curiosity. These are somewhat repetitive, but it goes just to show you what these things are. And I think one of the key things down here that talks about is right here, rebellion, that we oftentimes don't acknowledge. We know it, we see it, but we don't talk about it, and we don't strategize for how to overcome those rebellious things that young people, when they start using drugs, as a sense to rebel from either their parent or guardian, or from their school, or from just society in general. So those are things. And of course, mental health issues is very important, because when you talk about substance use, substance abuse, what you have to realize is that it's a chemical thing. It's nothing magical. And that's what I always tell young people. It's a chemical reaction. And our brain, our mental health is directly affected by the chemical reactions that occur in our brain. So now let's talk about some proven prevention strategies. And before we talk about the proven prevention strategies, let's talk about some of the strategies that we have been used in the past. And oftentimes it's a fear strategy, or do as I say, not as I do strategy. And the one that comes to mind so quickly to me is referenced just in the slide, is the Just Say No. And the Just Say No campaign was initiated by First Lady Nancy Reagan back in 1993. Her husband, President Ronald Reagan, declared a war on drugs. And so one of her things that she decided to use as her speaking point as First Lady was the Just Say No to Drugs campaign. And what it simply encouraged people to do is what it simply said: just say no. That's all you needed to do. If you want your young person in your life to not use drugs, encourage them to just say no. That was not effective and efficient for a lot of young people, including myself. And so let's look at some of the actual proven strategies for young people. Key things are education and awareness, and building resilience and supportive environments. When you talk about education and awareness, This is very important because what I found in doing my trainings literally around the world, doing substance abuse prevention and intervention trainings around the world in multiple countries, is that oftentimes instead of teaching a young person to just say no, if you equip them with the tools and knowledge of why they say no, they will be more likely to say no to something that's not healthy for them. Instead of fear mongering, like using this is your brain on drugs, or that simple just say no program, if you tell them about the risk factors associated with becoming addicted to drugs, or how these drugs harm you, or simply why these drugs seem so, what's the word? I'm lost for words right now. What are the things that make a young person want to continue to use drugs? If you're honest with them about that, not promoting drug use, of course, but if you're honest about the effects and what can happen and why people are easily to become addicted to the drugs, it helps empower those young people. And I'm talking about young people, uh, 10 to 15 years old, that I've given this information to, that have taken this information, and not only has it prevented them from using drugs or at least delaying the use, it's also equipped them with the power to talk to their friends who are either considering using drugs, including alcohol and tobacco, or have already started doing so, whereas they can now become an intervention. Because one of the things I always tell parents is that the person that finds out or knows that a young person or their child is using drugs before anyone else is going to be their friends, not their parents, not their teachers, but their friends. They're going to be the first ones. So if we're able to equip them with tools to discourage drug use or delay drug use, then that makes your child even safer. And also, when we talk about building resilience and supportive environments, with mentoring programs, after school activities, just getting them engaged in these activities, it stimulates the brain, releases endorphins and dopamine during these activities, but also it's a support system that can also be influenced to learn how to discourage young people from misusing drugs, especially at an early age. Um, yeah. So now let's talk about proven prevention strategies for misuse. Let's talk about the action steps. What are some things with this information? What are some things that we can now do to help to put things in place so we can discourage young people from using drugs? And these initially, when I was developing these slides, I was thinking of action steps for schools, because usually schools are the people that we think about, because young people will spend the majority of their time in a school system, even more so than at home when you really think about it. Their woke hours, they spend more of their woke hours in school than they do with their families or within their communities. When I say woke hours, I'm not talking about woke hours. I'm talking about not sleeping. When a child is not sleeping, they spend more time in school than they do in any other area. But what I also realize is that the conversation doesn't need to be and shouldn't be limited to just the schools. If we can create action steps for families, schools, workforce, and communities, then this puts an even deeper and stronger barrier that will either prevent young people from misusing drugs or be able to intervene early enough when a young person is using drugs, to stop negative consequences from occurring. So let's look at that. What are some things that we can do? What are some action steps? Excuse me, go back. So, action steps, family. Make sure you have open communications with your young person. Be clear, have set clear expectations, positive role modeling, monitoring, and seeking support. These are very simple things that you can do. And when you have an open communications, oftentimes as a parent myself, I have to practice listening even more for young people. because sometimes they will test you and say things early in the conversation to see if you're going to jump down their throat, when in actuality, the thing that they really want to talk about is 2, 3, 5 questions down the line. So have open communications, set clear expectations when it comes to whether or not, what's your expectation as it revolves around substance use. What age can they do it? Should they do it? What's your rule at home and why? So set those clear expectations. Modeling the behavior. We're talking, going back to that do as I say, not as I do. Those are things that are very key, because young people, they're watching you. They're modeling their behavior off of their parent. Trust me and believe me, they do. And again, monitoring, seeking support. The other things, we don't have time to go into it today because of the time frame for our session today, but those are, when I'm meeting with schools or workforces, I go through each one of these and break down and have a conversation about exactly what you can do in order to put into action steps for a school, for the workforce, when you're bringing on young people into a job, especially teens and young adults. To be honest, some adults too, as well as communities. That's nonprofit organization, and also just local community activities, things that are going on, all those things that we discussed. So before I wrap it up, I also want to, of course, talk about my approach to engaging and educating through entertainment, which I love doing. I love doing these types of workshops. One of the examples is one of my friends who's a Boston public safety police officer informed me that she was doing sessions with young people, young teens at the Teen Academy for the police force. And I was like, yo, let me come and talk to the young people. I do a phenomenal, taking my wife's favorite word, I do a phenomenal prevention workshop for young people. And she was hesitant because she only knows me as a comedian. But she agreed to it. I said, you don't have to pay me. So she was happy about that. So I went in and I did a session. We were supposed to do it for 30 minutes. The young people were so engaged in the conversations that we were having that I was in there for about an hour and a half. This was 5, maybe 6 years ago. This was before the pandemic. So I think it was 2018 or 2019 when I first did it. This is being recorded right now in June of 2024. So after doing that session, months went by, the following summer was about to approach. I get a call from my contact there, and she asked me if I could come in and do the session again. And I did. And I've been doing this session with different young people from this academy since the first time I volunteered to do it. And this is one of the pictures from the last group that I did. As you can see, it was about 40 young people in here. And what I love to do is get in here and have some great conversations, honest dialogue with young people. And it's so awesome to see them open up, see them ask questions, and see them retain information and be like, wow, I didn't know that. But knowing that in that moment, I've actually reached a young person with some facts, not speculations, not fear-mongering, not do as I say, not as I do, not just say to no, but hitting them with just facts around drug use, sharing my own personal experience from me being a person that abused drugs, and being open to their questions. What I don't do, though, is go in and offer information that might spike interest in using drugs. I'm very careful about that. But what I do is share my own personal story in order to allow them to know that it's safe. This is a safe place for them to ask any questions. And there are no stupid questions. I make sure they understand all questions are open. That's the only stupid question is the question that you didn't ask. Because I've seen it multiple times where a young person will ask a question and they'll think it's a stupid question, and there's 4 or 5 other classmates or participants in that session, that are thinking the same thing and wanting to know the same information. So I talk to them, I get them the facts, I talk about some of the data. If you look at this slide here, you'll see that more than 90% of high school seniors say that it is easy or very easy for them to get alcohol. You say, how? You can't go in the store and buy alcohol. They're not going to the store. They're going in the refrigerator. They're going into the cabinet. They're going into for those homes that have a bar, they're going there and they're getting alcohol from there. That's why it's so easy. 10% of 9 to 10-year-olds have already started drinking. This is what I was talking about earlier. They're experimenting with it at an early age. They have easy access to it. It changes their chemical, it creates a chemical reaction in their brain that they like, especially if they have some type of mental disorder where now they're because of the chemical reaction makes them feel like they're feeling better. They're actually self-medicating themselves. And that's what I talk to young people about, and parents when I'm talking to families, school staff, community organizations. I talk about all these things as reasons why young people use drugs. And so this is my approach. I try to do it in a fun and entertaining way to allow people to open up and feel engaged. So that's my information on substance misuse prevention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Type them in the chat box now. If not, you can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to me by going to my website, CoreyManning.com. You can also text or email me. All those things are available and easily approachable. I'm easily approachable and open to it, because my main thing is, again, I don't want to miss an opportunity to stop at least one young person from making a healthy decision. All right. Well, this has been great. If there are no questions, let me stop sharing. If there are no questions, I'll stop sharing so I can go to my Facebook page to see if there are any questions that have come up. None currently, so that's fine. All right. Again, I'm going to share my screen one more time so you know how to reach me to see if you have any questions. Share screen. All right, so you can reach me by going to CoreyManning.com. That's my website. There's all my social media platforms are there, but it's also here. You can see my LinkedIn, X, formerly known as Twitter. That's there as well. All those are different ways that you can reach out and talk to me if you have any questions. And again, Instagram, Facebook, of course, all those things are there. All right. This has been, I hope this has been informative. I hope this information has been helpful. I will be doing, October is Substance Abuse Prevention Month. And actually yesterday, June the 26th, was International Substance Abuse Prevention Day, and which I found very interesting in developing this session, thinking about this session. But I'll be doing a deeper dive into this. I may try to see if I can create an opportunity to do this live with some actual either young people or with adults engaged in the conversation, and see about how I can stream this live on social media platforms. Okay. If there are no questions at this time, thank you all so much. If you're looking at this after June the 28th, thank you so much for taking a look at it. Please share with somebody that you care about, or please share this with your local school system, faith-based, God, tongue twisted, faith-based organizations or workforce organizations, nonprofits, and I'll be more than happy to assist them on any of the things that they may need. All my contact information is there, or you can simply email thecoreymanning@gmail.com, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining, and look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.